On the evening of 6th July 2024, at Woodside Township, Illinois, a 36-year-old woman, Sonya Massey, called 911 to report a possible intruder at her house. Two police officers arrived at her house and inspected her backyard, but they didn't find any intruder. They searched the entire house, but there was no intruder. One of the police officers, a 30-year-old Sean Patrick Grayson, pulled out his gun and fired at Sonya Massey 3 times when she was in her kitchen. Sonya was shot in the head with one of the bullets entering through her left eye. Sonya Massey died for no reason at the hands of the police officer whom she called to protect her. Why would a police officer senselessly take the life of an innocent woman who called him for protection? This is the story of Sonya Massey. Sonya Massey was born on 12th February 1988 in San Diego, California. Her father was known as James Wilburn, and her mother was Donna Massey. Sonya grew alongside her 3 sisters. Sonya worked at J&J Gaming, and her life was moving on perfectly. She had 2 children, a boy named Malachi and a girl named Jeanette. Sonya really loved her children, and she always took good care of them. She always took them to church and taught them how to read a Bible. Unfortunately, later on, Sonya was diagnosed with lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease where the body's immune system mistakenly attacks its own tissue and organs. This causes widespread inflammation on a body. Unfortunately, the disease forced her to quit her job at J&J Gaming because she could no longer manage the demands of a full-time job. The disease changed the course of Sonya's life. She started doing part-time jobs so that she can survive. However, later on, Sonya began struggling and her mental health began to deteriorate. She began to battle the overwhelming feelings of isolation, pain, and frustration. The burden of the disease made her to need more support. It reached a point where she was not in a condition to take good care of children. So in early July 2024, she sent her children to live with their father so that she can fully focus on her treatment by checking into a 30-day mental health treatment program. Sonya checked into the 30-day mental health treatment program, but unexpectedly she left the facility without completing the full 30 days due to unknown reasons. Sonya became even more vulnerable after leaving the program, and she was now struggling physically, emotionally, and mentally because of the disease. On July 5th, 2024, the Sangamon Sheriff's Office received a call from Donna Massey, who was Sonya's mother. Donna told 911 that her daughter was having a mental breakdown, but she was not a danger to herself or to anyone. She told them that Sonya didn't want people who were prejudiced coming to her house. Later on, the police and the emergency services arrived at Sonya's house to check on her well-being. The emergency services noticed that Sonya had been exhibiting signs of paranoia, but she was not a threat to herself or to anyone, so the emergency services was able to clear her. The police also talked to her, and everything was good. A few hours later, Sonya made a 911 call. The dispatcher could hear her upset and cursing at someone in the background. She was yelling that someone had busted out the windows of her car. That evening, Sonya also sent to her children a text message saying that someone was at her back door. Her children were so worried about her well-being, and so they planned to visit their mother to check if she was okay. Later on, the police arrived at her home. They confirmed that the windows had indeed been smashed. They spoke with Sonya, but during their conversations, they learned that Sonya had spoken to the crisis response team at least 3 times over the past few weeks. The police knew that Sonya was not okay, so they took her to the hospital for an evaluation. While at the hospital, she told the police that she was actually the one who broke the windows of her car when she was trying to get inside so that she could get away. She told the police that she had been released from a mental health facility. Because of the events which were happening in Sonya's life, her family and her neighbors knew that she was in a crisis. Sonya always told them that she believed that some people were after her. This was nothing but just her imaginations. They knew that at that point, Sonya was in desperate need of help to navigate through this tumultuous period in her life. She was really struggling because of her health condition. On 6th July 2024, at around 12:50 a.m., Sonya called 911 at 2826 South Hoover Avenue. She told them that somebody was outside her house. Shortly before 1 a.m., two deputies from the Sangamon Sheriff's Office arrived at Sonya Massey's home. One of them was known as Sean Patrick Grayson. Sean Grayson had been in the Army for 4 years, and he had been discharged from the Army because of serious misconduct after he received 2 driving under the influence DUIs offenses. While working as a police officer, he had received several complaints from citizens and fellow officers. Sean Grayson had a history of being a bad police officer, and he had moved from department to department. Now, when Sean Grayson arrived at Sonya's house, he was with his partner, who was unnamed. Once at Sonya's home, the officers began searching her backyard and the surrounding area for any signs of suspicious activity. However, they found no evidence of an intruder or anything unusual. They approached the front door, and Sean Grayson knocked. Sonya opened the door. They informed her that they had searched around the house, but they had not found anyone. Sonya and the 2 officers stood on her front porch talking for several minutes. As they continued talking, one of the deputies, noticing a vehicle parked in her driveway, asked her about it, and she explained that the car did not belong to her. The unnamed deputy then left the porch. Meanwhile, Sean Grayson stayed with Sonya at the front door, continuing with their conversation. Once the second deputy returned, they all went inside the house where Sonya took a seat on the sofa. Sean Grayson began asking Sonya for her ID. He also asked her questions about the vehicle. While they continued talking, the officers noticed that Sonya had a pot of water boiling on the stove, and so they told her to turn the pot off. Sonya then walked over to the stove, grabbed her oven mitts, and picked the pot up, but the 2 police officers stepped back. Sonya, apparently caught off guard by the way they stepped back, asks them where they were going, and one of the deputies responded by saying they were going away from her hot, steaming water. Sonya then said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." Sean Grayson then said, "You better effing not, or I swear to God I'll effing shoot you." He then pulled out his gun and pointed it at Sonya. The second officer also draws his weapon. Sonya said she was sorry. Both officers began yelling at her to drop the pot, and as she moved towards the sink, Sean Grayson fired 3 shots directly at her. Hitting her with a fatal shot to the head, one of the bullets entered her lower eyelid of her left eye and exited through the posterior left surface of her upper neck. He shot Sonya Massey when she was in her kitchen. When responding officers arrived, Sean Grayson told them that Sonya had a boiling water. His partner went back inside and leaned down where Sonya had fallen after being shot. He noted that she was still gasping a little bit. At 1:47 a.m., almost 30 minutes after Sonya was shot, she was taken to St. John's Hospital emergency room, but unfortunately she didn't make it. Sonya Massey succumbed to gunshot wounds. After Sonya's death, both officers were placed on administrative duty, which is typically standard for an ISP office. Then the Illinois State Police lead the investigation into the murder of Sonya Massey. Over the next 10 days, the ISP investigated the shooting and reviewed body camera footage, and they interviewed both officers at the scene. Nurses reported that they were told by police that the gunshot wounds Sonya received were self-inflicted. On the 17th July 2024, police announced that Grayson had been charged for the murder of Sonya Massey by a grand jury. The Indiana State Police said that after reviewing the evidence, including the body-worn camera footage, the shooting of Sonya Massey was not justified. Sean Grayson was charged with first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct. After his arrest, Sean Grayson was fired by the sheriff's office. His partner was not charged but remained on administrative duty. After Sean Grayson was charged for the murder of Sonya Massey, her family is still fighting for justice, demanding accountability from everyone involved and answers as to why her life was cut short in such a senseless way.